My name is Susan Elaine Kiefer, and I'm going to talk today about a subject that I've been seeing a lot of interest on the internet lately, the subject of walk-ins. And I'm actually am a walk-in. This is something I have not done before, was to discuss this, but I have written this book, The Diary of a Walk-In. It was written in 1993. So for me, my experience as a walk-in began in 1993. Right now it's 2015, and I've just turned 50 years old. This book was written when I was 29, turning 30, which if you are interested in this book, I'll just tell you right now, it is on Amazon, or you can get it directly from me. And information will be at the end. But the reason that I'm talking about it now is because when it was first written, I was told that it was not time yet for this book to come out. And now that it is 2015, we have crossed the 2012 border into the photon belt. And people that are turning 29 now and turning 30, I think this is an appropriate time for them because this book has a lot to do with turning 30. And in history, there are many significant others. Like Jesus turned 30 when he first began his ministry. John the Baptist was 30 when he baptized Jesus. Alexander the Great was 30 when he started his conquest. There's a lot of people turning. Nostradamus was 30 when he did all his prophecies. So turning 30 seemed to be the trigger for me, and I recognized that at that time. Just to give you some background about walk-ins, if you don't know anything about walk-ins, Ruth Montgomery has a great book called Strangers Among Us. She also has one called Aliens Among Us. And even Dolores Cannon has a recent book, her last book before she passed away this past year. She has a reference to walk-ins in there as well. And also Barbara Marciniak, who wrote Bringers of the Dawn, which does talk about the Pleiadians and their mission on this planet. And the story that I always used to tell people, because I am a Pleiadian, and actually there's a lot of humans on this planet that are from different planets and different galaxies, and we all incarnate several times in different experiences all over the place. So it's not really an alien or an ET thing. There's many humans who have had different lives on other planets, and in fact, the ETs and the UFOs and things that like Pleiadians or Syrians are actually humans in the future. We are actually seeded from them, is our history on Earth as humans. We're not evolving from the apes like everyone has said. The apes are still here. If that was true, there would be no apes. They would all be humans. So talking about the history of how humans came to be is really where the story starts. And for that, I will reference Zecharia Sitchin's books, The 12th Planet, which he has a series of books. And in those, he is an archaeologist, he is a historian, he reads the cuneiform tablets, and the history before the Sumerians even existed is all on these tablets. Evidence and facts of the real story of the Bible, which is another thing I was going to try to break down because the Bible has been misinterpreted. For instance, Jesus was here and he constantly was saying he was not of this earth, and that if you were loved by the world, you wouldn't be in line with the things he was trying to teach. So what he was really here for, a lot of people don't realize, is to end the wheel of karma. And the reason that people have to keep incarnating over and over again for their past mistakes. And what Jesus really did is he came here to clear everybody's past karmic lives. And that's why one of the things in the Bible is they don't want you to know about reincarnation, even though it is mentioned there with Elijah There are references to reincarnation in the Bible, but the authors edited that part out. And there are books about reincarnation through Jesus' teachings on the internet as well. So you can read more about that there, but he came, as I said, to end the wheel of karma, because where we are at right now on the planet in 2015 is we're not here to incarnate anymore. This is our last lifetime on this planet. And the plan of the historical plan of Earth is that now it's time to move on to either a new Earth that is clean again, unpolluted, unpopulated as badly as this planet is, or for those who are not ready to make that ascension, those souls will be given an opportunity to continue in a separate Earth than the ones who are ready, because there are definitely layers and layers of souls and people who are ready to evolve and to ascend, which is, again, even in the Bible it says Jesus will be coming in the clouds, I will meet him in the sky, in the air, in the clouds, and those are actual literal things. We're just misinterpreting them. So part of this is to let people know that the ETs, I'll call them, are here. They've been helping all along. They've been guiding all along. They are benevolent. Of course, there are some that are not, but just like on Earth, there are individual humans who are not nice, and mean and dangerous. Same thing. It's not really any different. You know who is who, and you will feel their goodness. So it won't be anything you have to question. And what they really want is to be introduced. They're ready to make their selves known. They want to physically be seen, and their communication is not verbal. It's telepathic, which we will all be regaining that telepathic skill as we move up into the ascension levels. So they don't want to be attacked. They don't want to be, tried to be destroyed, which they couldn't be anyway. All they have to do is disappear. But they want to be embraced as much as you can, understanding that we need them. We need them to come. And there's also a whole civilization that lives under the surface of the earth, and they're also ready to come to the surface. So I'm hoping that, I will be one of many voices who will be saying the same message to calm people down. And if you really want to know what a walk-in thinks like, again, I refer to this diary. You will see all of my thoughts when I first came here. And a walk-in basically is someone who switches bodies with a soul who has made an agreement before they came to Earth even, and said, I'm going to live in this body until this age. This is all I need to do is clear up some things from babyhood to a certain age of adult. And then a walk-in says, well, there's not enough time for me to go through the whole experience as a baby. I'm going to come in as an adult, knowing what my mission is, what my purpose is, and the switch is made. And the walk-in has full memory, basically, of the person they replaced. They have to finish up some of the karma from the other person, clear the karma of the other person, and I have just recently finished that task. So walk-ins tend to have a high purpose in helping educate people on the sustainability issues of the planet, which I do have another YouTube called Sustainability is the Earth Dying. I invite you to look at that. No one takes us seriously, no one believes it. There's just not much more we can say to stress at where we're at with the planet. I mean, it's over. And this is not to say that it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. We're excited, we're celebrating. There is a new Earth that's already been prepared, and there's a couple of interpretations of that. One is, and I'm hearing myself, one is it's a physical different planet that they want to actually transport us to, those who are ready. And you will be able to shuttle back and forth. We're about to open up into the whole cosmos with everyone else. Earth has been in a quarantine status during this whole experiment, which has lasted tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of years. But now that has all ended, the experiment is over. And then the other level is that the fifth dimension and the other higher dimensions are superimposed, existing at the same time as this third dimensional world we live in. And when your frequencies are increased, when your vibrations are raised, which happens with eating living foods, is a big way. If you're eating dense, destroyed foods, that's going to bring your frequencies and vibration levels down. You won't be able to receive communication as well, or at all. You'll just be too dense, and that's a physics thing. This is not magic, this is physics. So I have written another book on that one called Closer to the Sun, a recipe book for health for the next evolutionary phase of mankind. And I just heard today on the news even that the United Nations has said that the way to fix this planet basically is for everyone to become vegans. And then Conan O'Brien was on today or last night saying, okay, so United Nations has said veganism is the way we're going to fix the planet. And he goes, so that's not going to happen. And of course, laugh, 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 but it's true. And you will see that in my sustainability video. The animals, I don't want to go there really too much, but they're one of the last levels of slavery and torture that's going on this planet, and that needs to stop immediately. And anyway, I won't go there in this video. So I'm about to receive my new mission because I just finished the clearing the karma and completing lessons from the soul I replaced. For the past 20 years, I've been focusing on organic gardening, starting CSAs, community-supported agricultural gardens, encouraging raw food, teaching raw food recipes. I've also just finished a wild edibles book for survival and first aid, knowing what plants the planet offers if the time comes when power is shut off, or just because we've moved into a higher level of vibration, our existing power grid just doesn't work anymore because of electromagnetic purposes. And there might be a time where, you know, as technology is changing, which it is expected to change, we're supposed to get more advanced technology, and possibly by the end of this year, that will help us grow food better and transport ourselves around the planet better than using these antiquated cars. And you know, the electricity that we have now is really old-fashioned and polluting. So in that event, though, knowing what plants are available is important, and that book is also available, Wild Edibles for Survival and First Aid. And so knowing where to find water, that's also included in there, just for the temporary time in between switching the way things are now and the way things are soon to change. So with that said, I also want to mention that Jesus, he has another name called Sananda. So if you ever hear the name Sananda, that is Jesus's Pleiadian name, and he is much more than the physical person that was here on earth. That was just one of his incarnates, but he is so much more, and he is my main guide. So in this book, The Diary of a Walk-In, you will hear me communicating a lot with Jesus. So anyway, do you have any questions?
Yeah, let's start with the book. In the book, you're how old when it started?
29.
29. So do you know what happened to the person previously in your body?
Well, at the time of this book, we were both in the body.
Okay.
when this book started. We were both together, and it was switching over at that time. So when you first, there's going to be more walk-ins than just me, and there are thousands more than just me, and people are probably wondering if they themselves are a walk-in. That's part of the purpose of this book, is to let you know what I learned from the beginning to the end of this book over 14 months about the waking up process and the downloading process. And also I have another book that follows this one, where I did have to go to Montana for a period of almost a year to live in all kinds of weather, without power, without electricity, as an experiment, without money, to prepare for what is potentially coming on Earth.
And what is that?
Well, at that time, see, things change as we change, and at that time, it was very certain that we were going to lose power, that money was going to become obsolete, and even now they're still saying money is due to change, where we will go back to bartering and trading. And I was preparing to, buy things that would no longer be able to be bought in stores. Anything that I would possibly need. Greenhouse materials. I had a manual truck and all the tools to fix that, including a jack, a high-level energy jack. I was building a wind generator out there. It was going to be my power supply. I was at 4,500 elevation in a national forest. And actually, I'm trying to get that made into a movie. So if anybody knows a way to get in contact with Reese Witherspoon or her agent, this would be a great movie for people to see. Did I answer your question? I don't think so.
God, you always answer with more questions. Okay, the vibration too. You're saying eating certain foods, live foods, gives you high vibration. And the slavery that we keep animals in. How is keeping animals in that slavery any different than keeping plants in that slavery?
Well, plants, in this book I talk about that too, how we've made plants visiting nature into zoos, like the parks, where, we've destroyed so much of covering everything with cement and building cities. And I just can't believe how I see on the Weather Channel, for instance, all the time, they have these city skyscrapes views, and they're like, it's just gray and dreary to me, and just all man-made buildings. And they're always like, isn't this the most beautiful sight? And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But so yes, we've destroyed, and you'll see this in the sustainability video, how much of the trees are gone on the planet that provide the oxygen, that we have just been so destructive as humans. And so as far as animals and slavery, believe me, they are one of the last things that the planet needs to change and evolve. And in the future, a vegetarian diet is going to be the way to go, and I prove in that video, eating meat does nothing but make you sick, die young, and live in health conditions of heart attacks and osteoporosis. And now with the GMO foods, the genetically modified foods, all of those things were purposely designed to limit the population, to actually reduce the population on purpose. Genetically modified foods are proven to cause cancer. Cancer rates are expected to triple in just the next decade, and we're already at 1 in 3 as a conservative. It's really almost 1 in 2 people getting cancer, which is pretty much, you can consider that 100%. So if they're going to triple that statistic with the genetically modified foods, with the pesticides, of course, chemicals, what we've done to the water supply, I mean, everything is being, in one way, designed to reduce the population, and that is not by the benevolent ET races. That is being done by the old controlling races that had, up until just basically in the late 90s is when those old controlling races left the planet. But this GMO food came about in the early 90s, with companies like Monsanto, and it's not at that level that the problem is. It's not an Earth level problem. This is coming from beyond the Earth. People who helped create the human race wanted to now, they destroy it, basically. I'll just say it like that. So if you don't know what's going on with the food supply and you don't think this is serious stuff, you're going to find out within the next decade. Alzheimer's is supposed to triple, diabetes is supposed to triple, cancer is supposed to triple. This is the first generation of children that will be not outliving their parents. For the first time, we're becoming more sterile, and that's on purpose, with the vaccines as well as another way to introduce sterility. And in corn, which is a genetically modified crop, there is actually a gene spliced into the DNA to reduce sperm in men. And it doesn't just happen if you're a male, because if you're a female trying to get pregnant, that spermicide that's in the corn will also affect any sperm that you've taken in yourself, and kill that sperm. So the fertility rates on this planet are declining rapidly on purpose as well. And because there's too many people. There's just too much that the planet cannot support. It would take 5 Earths to support the amount of people that are using up the resources as fast as they are on this one planet. And they say even if we were to stop doing everything wrong that we're doing wrong today, immediately stop all of it, it would still continue. The damage would be continuing up for 20 more years. And there's actually been estimates that we only have about 15 years left before all the resources are just tapped out.
And what resources would they be?
Resources like with the trees, with the water, with the earth, with the topsoil, producing food. The extinction rate of animals, we're in the 6th great mass extinction now. It's happening 1,000 times faster than any other extinction before. 100% caused by how humans are choosing to grow their food and what food they're choosing to eat. That is what's destroying the planet, is human consumption of what food they're eating. They're not eating sustainably. So it's just, we're eating the planet to death. We are the cancer on the planet right now. And
so the decision to cut down the population, and that came from a source higher up, some of the same source that created humans?
Yes.
Okay. So
and they've done that before. In the Bible, in the book of Genesis, there's so many different God personalities you'll notice in that book, and plurals used. And in the beginning book of Genesis, it says, we created God in our image. And that is in any Bible. You can look for yourself. Those original creator gods were not the high-level God that we all know is out there. These were just another level above us that came to Earth and needed a slave race, and they had been mining our gold on this planet because of their atmosphere was in danger of, they had an ozone hole themselves that they couldn't repair with any other means except the fine, lightweight gold dust was the only thing that could repair that hole in their atmosphere. So they looked around the galaxy, and there's only, it turns out, a couple of planets that have gold available. One is Earth, and one is the asteroid belt, which was a planet in its past history that has been destroyed, and this is a scientific fact. And so now it's just pieces in the asteroid belt. So they came to Earth, mining the gold themselves, but after 100,000 years of doing that, or 200,000 years of doing that, they said, we can't do this anymore. They were living in the mines. I mean, they're just humans too, and they're just more advanced. They're the same genetic material we are. So they came up with the idea to try to use the animals on the planet, such as the apes, because they thought they had the most dexterity for mining gold and obeying orders, but they weren't as advanced as they would like. So originally they decided to do some genetic manipulation. They were cloning back then. That's why the scientific advancements we have now came from that knowledge then. And originally they did it with the apes, but what they created then was still not sophisticated enough intellectually to do the mining that they needed. So then they, through many experiments with many different animals that we think are myths and mythology, those really did exist. The horse-man combination, the mermaid combination, those were real things that did exist. And finally they said, well, we need to take our DNA and combine it with the egg of an ape, and then take that egg and grow it in one of their females, because they tried it the other way with growing it in the female ape, and it just kept aborting and coming out not living. So when they finally took the male DNA of this superior race, combined with the egg of the ape, inserted into a female human, advanced human, then they finally produced a child that lived. And these children were originally grown sterile, and that was the point, so that they didn't reproduce. But then they had to keep cloning them, and it was so time-consuming going through them growing up into an age where they could work in the mines. So they took a shortcut, and they decided, well, maybe it would be better if they reproduced themselves. And so when they made that change in their DNA to allow them not to be sterile and to reproduce themselves, these were the original Adam and Eve, and that was the Adam model of a human. That's when we say, there were little g gods, I'll call them, because that's what the earthlings were calling them at that time, just because they didn't understand their technology. That's when they started having disagreements among themselves. They didn't want, some of them, these two brothers, one of them did not want them to be able to reproduce. They thought that would create problems with the population, which it clearly has. And the other one, thought scientifically it would be better than having them have to keep putting these eggs in their females to make more children. So they gave them the ability to reproduce, and that's when they noticed their nakedness in the Garden of Eden, and that's when they started reproducing themselves. And that's what we call eating from the tree of knowledge, because at that point they were knowing each other, which means having sex with each other. So that was their fall. Eating of the tree of knowledge was really the DNA splicing of another gene to allow them to reproduce. And then since that time, then the humans just kept populating, and the original DNA from the little g gods was getting diluted, and the humans-ape combination were actually reverting back to some of the original ape characteristics, such as mating with animals, that the early earthlings, like the Aborigine races that are still around today, not that I'm saying they mate with animals, but the early earthlings did regularly mate with animals. And so they didn't like that. They didn't like what had happened to their experiment. It got out of control, which is when the flood came and destroyed that whole level of humanity that they had created. And again, that was not the one and only creator God. This was just these little g gods that are just advanced humans playing games no different than we're doing today on the planet. We have now almost reached their level, almost, not really, but compared to what we were, we have come a long way.
In the sense that we can
do genetic manipulation now, we do it all the time. We have rocket ships which are just like theirs were back then. Mm-hmm. We're traveling beyond the Earth now,
So where do they live?
So the Pleiades is one of the main, that's my planetary system that I connect with. Okay. And you can see that in the sky, with the naked eye. And that's actually the center of our galaxy. The Pleiades is the center of our galaxy.
Tell me more about the Pleiades, where you come from.
Well, again, when you're a walk-in, there's different ways of being a walk-in, I guess, but you don't have memory so much of the lives before, just like even people incarnating today don't have memories of their past lives. What's coming now, though, is more veils being removed for everybody, not just for walk-ins, but everybody's going to have more veils removed. And again, a way to have that happen on a personal level is to start eating higher vibrating foods. One of the first things I had to do as one of my assignments was, I'm a master herbalist and an iridologist as well, and was when I first started that in like 2000, I was told I had 7 years to get people ready for the new energy, the new high level vibrations that were going to start washing the planet, which as the photon band approached in 2012, somewhere between 3 and 7 years is really how long it takes to clean toxins out of the body. And at that time, I was told that if people didn't clean out these toxins and raise their vibration levels, when this high level vibration wave hit the planet, there was either going to be people short-circuiting because their circuitry, their electrical circuitry was just too gunked up and too dirty that they would just basically die. Or if you had cleaned yourself out, when this high level frequency hits the planet, you will be catapulted like magnanimously higher levels, like instantly. And this is still coming. We just entered the photon belt, so we just entered it in we're on the very.
So the photon belt is an actual physical thing that's coming.
Yeah, it's a donut-shaped band that NASA started tracking in 1961 in the galaxy, and
Really?
back then we started approaching it as a solar system, where in 1987 was the first time we clipped into it as a solar system, where Earth clipped into it. The band itself is 2,000 years wide, and in 1998. In June of 1998 is when the sun crossed the plane of the photon belt. So that meant the Earth was in it 6 months of the year and then 6 months out. And then we, kept advancing more into it. And the significance of December 21st, or I say December 22nd because that's my birthday, but 2012 was that we as a whole solar system were completely in it at that point. So Earth was in it 100% of the time starting then.
So the 22nd is your birthday from which incarnation?
Well, the human.
The human, okay. Okay, so the food, yeah, I'm not sure I'm happy with the answer with the enslaved.
Most people aren't going to change what they're eating. That's one of the most addictive habits that humans have on the planet, is they will not give up their food. And at this point, nobody cares. Nobody's trying to convince you to give up your food. This experiment is done. So if you want to advance yourself, that would be the way to do it. But nobody really is pushing anybody to do anything anymore. We're done with that phase. That phase is over.
So what will happen to Earth when all the people are gone?
Well, all the people aren't going to be gone.
Okay, so tell me
Only
about
the
that.
people who are ready to leave. It's going to be like taking the cream up the top of who's ready to go. And even those people will be given a choice if they want to leave or if they want to stay. Originally in this book, I was always saying I wanted to be the last one to leave. I wanted to help everybody leave. Now that I've done everything that I can possibly do to push education and making changes in what you're eating and how you're growing your food. That part is over. That part of trying to change people is over. It doesn't matter to us anymore. It doesn't matter to us anymore. We don't care. So don't change. If you don't want to change, don't change.
No.
Do exactly what you're doing, but cancer, diabetes,
Those are the things that are
Alzheimer's
coming.
are guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Guaranteed.
rampant. You can see it
So
everywhere.
actually it's a genius, brilliant plan, really. And again, this wasn't the benevolent ones who did this, but it's genius because they've hit every area. Like they're saying, who cares? Don't change what you're eating. Keep eating that meat. That meat will give people cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to change yourself, that meat will change you, and you'll just have your shorter lifespan, which is the whole point. is to reduce the population.
So why reduce the population? Why end the experiment?
Well, because Earth is a living being, and Earth is in dire need of help, and Earth is what is going to evolve also. So Earth herself has been like, and you'll see in this book, I get so emotional talking about Earth and feeling what the Earth pain was and seeing, what has happened on this planet compared to what used to be, where everything was pristine and everything worked together. And the fact that humans have they're not going to be allowed to destroy the planet. That's where the experiment has a boundary. The free will, this is the only place where there is free will. Like, do whatever you want. Let's see what you do. Let's see what a mess you make of things, or if you clean it up yourself. And if you don't clean it up yourself and you push it to the limit where you're going to destroy the earth, that's when the others are going to come in and interfere with that, because that is the boundary. You cannot destroy the earth. So that's where the experiment ends. And we're there.
It seems to me the experiment had two reasons, though. I mean,
It
the
does.
experiment. Okay, so what are the reasons for the experiment?
One reason is just to finish that wheel of karma. That thing has been just going on and on forever, and humans were never, ever going to get off of that. Never.
But I thought Jesus took care of that.
Well, yes, but there is that requirement of, and that's where it gets tricky, is like, I don't, some of the stuff the Christianity religion has is very accurate. It's just their interpretation is so judgmental, and that is not accurate at all. But there is something to accepting that your sins were forgiven. There is something to that, and I'll get clearer on that in the days to come. Maybe this won't be my only one, but for sure, if you're not, if you don't recognize the wrongs you've done and you're continuing to do them again and again and again, you're just going to hold yourself back. So he cleared the wheel of karma, and that should be the goal of humans now, but it's just never going to happen in the mass population. But the goal of humans now should be to not incur any new karma and to clear your karma while you're still in a physical being, instead of after you die finding out, oh, look at how bad I lived my life. Now I got to go back and fix this.
Why should they clear their karma now?
Because so that you can ascend. The thing the Bible talks about with the rapture is this ascension, which again is graduating from Earth. Is, it's a beautiful planet, but the dimension that we live in is the darkest level. Excuse that. So what we want to ascend from is the third dimension. There's a fifth dimensional Earth, which actually is said to exist inside the Earth. But you can't enter there without...
You don't mention the fourth dimension at all.
The fourth dimension is time. So there won't be time anymore. Time ends.
Okay.
The end times. That's literal.
Okay.
Time and space are relative. Einstein proved that.
Right.
If you travel faster than the speed of light, you actually reverse aging. You get younger. So time ends. So
Okay.
the fourth dimension, we just skip right over that.
Okay.
Or actually, there's several third dimensional people now living in the fourth dimension and tapping into the fifth dimension even now. And one of the signs for that is people that, that can't relate to this or can't grasp it, don't understand it. It's just way over their head. They don't believe it. That's a symptom of a third dimensional being. The ones who are starting to ask questions, starting to get curious, that means you're actually going higher in the dimensions now. That's how that starts. And what will happen is, you might start separating from friends or family members or people that you're used to hanging out with. You no longer have anything in common with them. This is one of the walk-in traits. And they're still here, but you know, you didn't leave them, but they're no longer in your world. So that kind of thing is one of the things as the earth starts separating, even destruction that happens on the earth and to the earth. You know, if it's not happening to you directly, you know, it's still like you know about it. It's on the news, but it's not in your dimensional reality. And so it happens very slowly. It's not going to be, you know, a giant black and white shift in the dimensions. It's individual. That's the other thing. It's not the same for everybody whatsoever. And a lot of it is actually based on how you emotionally handle your life, how stable, how calm you stay, how trusting you stay, whether you get angry, whether you you know, create anger and spread anger and hate and, you know, all those negative emotions are low vibration emotions. Love is the highest vibration. And the UFO technology is such that it, through physics alone, it just physically can't lift people up with negative vibrations. It can only take the higher level emotional vibrations. It just physically can't pick you up if you're, you know, a negative thinking person or negative emotional person. So that's how they're going to clear a lot of people. You know, it's just going to be like going over the top, and whoever gets picked up, you know, you're in that vibration level of love and, you know, the higher, cleaner foods.
So those are the ways to get to the ascension, but you've only got how many years left?
Well, this is actually being, I don't exactly know the timing, but I'm telling you that they are ready. They're saying we're the ones not ready. They are more than ready. And one of the first things that's going to start is the governments will disclose all of the UFO information they have never told the public about, that they have tried to discredit. That's one of the first things that's going to happen as an introduction, because they need to be introduced. They don't want to just come with this old fear. Fear is also a huge, the worst negative emotion of all. So letting go of fear, learning to trust, you know, that this is all for your higher good, for the planet's well-being. So I think I didn't answer that fully.
Okay.
I lost my train on that one.
It's easy to do. This is heavy stuff. I've heard most of what you're saying from my travels, which is pretty weird. Because I don't have any special walk.
Really? What kind of travels?
Just travels. England and Mexico and places.
Really? Talking to people in those countries?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are they saying?
They're saying the same thing from the same place. I mean, you know, a lot of it is they're addressing the same issues. The food is a huge one. Population is an issue. Time-wise, as far as the ascension,
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking
haven't
about.
quite gotten there yet. I haven't run into
Well,
that.
so let me finish that. That's what I was talking
Okay.
about. So after the government disclosure, which as I was saying, they need the introductions, they're saying what I've heard is 12 to 14 months after that, which potentially would put us in a 2-year window right now. Like, so let's say in 2 years. And actually I've heard by 2017. So we're really, really, really close.
I've heard the same thing. I talked to a couple guys from England that I met in Mexico who've done a lot of meditation work and do a lot of journeying through that and things. And they're saying the same thing. They're saying it's imminent, whatever it is. Like the catastrophic stuff that you're talking about, that's what they see. They see different parts of the planet that are going to, you know, be destroyed.
And that is
other
also
parts
how
that
the
are
earth
gonna
is
rise
going to
up.
clean herself.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. Like a lot of Europe supposedly will be flooded or something, and it's to do with the wars and everything that have been fought there.
Right. Yeah, the earth is capable of cleaning herself as well.
Right.
And the flooding is supposed to clean the soil, clean the pollution. Lands that have been underwater are supposed to resurface, that are clean again, that have been under ice even. And then the dirtiest polluted lands are supposed to go underwater. And in that cleansing process with earthquakes, volcanic eruptions and everything, many lives will be lost, and that's on purpose too. They have to go. They will go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of it, the way they described it, it seemed it almost doesn't matter, in some ways.
Yeah.
And in some ways,
It's nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, people might have bad experiences and there will be death.
But it is what it is, and that's
It is what it is.
And that happens anyway. So
Yeah,
this
look
is
at
gonna be on
the
a
war.
grand scale.
War is one of the
Right.
biggest population control methods.
Right.
That's all that is about, is killing each other to keep population.
So, and the argument about, and not that I want to get into an argument per se, but the idea that the Earth can't sustain this many people. I've also heard the other side of that, where this many people chose to come through at this particular time to be here to experience this.
Yeah, that there is that too, that they needed that many physical bodies for the higher spiritual level beings to come into a physical body to help the earth, to raise the earth's vibrations, to put light into the earth.
So is that like the indigo children and things like that?
Yeah,
Is
like
that-
the crystal children, the indigos, the walk-ins, but
I mean, would you consider
because
indigo
you know what that
children
has to do
walk-ins?
with? No, they do have a term crawl-ins though, but
Okay.
but what that has to do with is because this is the last wheel of karma, that we're finishing karma now. So a lot of souls did come to finish up their karma, because this is it. This is the last one. We're not repeating this again. We're moving on to a different level.
What's the point of karma? How does that pan out in the whole
That's-
scheme of things?
That's on your journey to, the ultimate goal is to reunite with the Creator.
Okay.
So, in giving people free will, and this isn't just on Earth. This is, the free will is just on Earth, but the karma thing is by being given free will. We just did whatever we wanted, and a lot of times we reverted backwards. Really, we just kept reverting more and more into the dark, and part of that was because of those creator little g gods. They say that just by making us out of, part of us were silica clay based humans, that they were able to manipulate our emotions as well and give us a limited consciousness, by disassembling the 12-strand DNA, which is supposed to be reassembled now into the 2-stranded DNA, where we only use 5% of each half of our brain, and really they did cloak us with a lot of negative emotion that wasn't our doing. So, in that we're supposed to be rising out of the darkness into the light, like a little plant who pushes out of soil and comes above the ground. But by doing wrong, murdering people, whatever, the war, killing people.
Let's go back to that a bit, okay? And I'm going to hit this a third time in a weird way, because you talked about the enslavement of animals and how, wrong that is, and
You don't think that's wrong?
absolutely. But in addition to that being wrong, the chemicals they're using on them, I can see how they're killing people directly.
Yeah,
through
like the
that.
superbugs.
Yeah,
that's on the
exactly.
news right now.
Right.
That's all coming from that, the
Okay.
antibiotics.
So what makes plants different than animals? You're raising plants, and the way you raise plants, my understanding is all life forms have different entities that see over them, like divas and things that work with plants and fairies and all those type of magical creatures that I don't even know. Okay, so if I'm going to take that perfect magical thing with creatures protecting it, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to stick it in a hydroponic thing, and I'm going to feed it whatever chemical fertilizers I'm going to feed it, so it's going to grow faster, and I'm going to give it 24 hours of light rather than 12 or whatever. Yeah, I mean, is that enslavement in the same way?
No, that's not. Plants are the only thing that can uptake like chemicals, like vitamins that humans try to take, calcium vitamins, that's just a rock. That's mostly made out of limestone, and we're never going to absorb that. But a plant can stick its roots into sand and silica and calcium and absorb that and change it through a process called transmutation, biological transmutation, into a living cellular form, biological form that humans can then eat that plant and take what we need out of it, the vitamins and minerals that we need in a usable form. So a plant, doesn't necessarily care that it's in a hydroponic situation uptaking chemicals in a direct form like that. The advantage of using soil-based growing is you're feeding the soil when you do that. You're feeding the microorganisms. Their waste products are vitamins, just like in our human gut, in our intestines. We are 100 trillion non-human cells and only 10 trillion human cells. We are a living ecosystem in our own physical bodies ourselves, and whatever you're eating is what's generating what kind of bacteria you have inside of you. So if you're not feeding them, I wrote an article about this, comparing the human intestinal tract to the soil and how similar it is with what kind of good bacteria and bad bacteria and compost piles even, that they don't take meat. And when you put meat in a compost pile, rats are what get attracted, maggots, all the things that eating that in our intestines are going to attract, similar stuff like that. But growing a plant, though, you're helping the earth itself when you grow and you fix the soil and you don't use chemicals in the soil. That's where the danger is in chemical soil. When you're growing a plant in soil, you want to feed the soil with recycled vegetable scraps and all that. So putting chemicals on the soil is where the damage is. But growing hydroponically and putting those chemicals in that water is not the same. And for the plant, you're still getting the nutrients. So it's not that the plant has a difference, it's the soil. The soil should not be grown with chemicals on.
I agree, but my point is slavery is slavery. Aren't I enslaving plants if I'm taking them out of the natural environment?
Plants are doing a service for humans. They know we need to eat them, and then we return them to the soil.
So it's okay to kill them, but not animals?
Well, we're eating them, but then you return them to the soil. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, but you're returning poo to the soil from cows if you eat a steak.
Which is the thing that's going to attract the maggots and the
I know, but once it's buried
rats.
deep enough, the earth has a way of making everything.
The only species that increases with the human population are rats and fire ants and cockroaches. So those are what are thriving with the increasing human population. What are decreasing are the beneficial pests and pollinators, and which is another thing.
Right.
After 3 million years, frogs and amphibians are going extinct, or 300 million years. Those are going extinct. Bats are going extinct. Those are natural pest controllers for mosquitoes and things for the farmer that now has to use more chemical fertilizer. So we're destroying bees, everything that was creating the food for us. Now we're going to have to hand pollinate. I mean, the experiment is over. We basically failed.
So how could we have done it better?
Because even if you tell someone...
And weren't we doomed from the beginning if we were just to be slaves anyway? I mean, really, did it even matter? I mean, because if we were just pulling gold out of the earth for the, what'd you call them, gods, the G-gods?
I'm not going to name their name. I'm just going to call them the little G-gods.
Okay, the little G-gods.
Who are mentioned in the Bible that we think are the big gods, but they're not.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Archangels, is that what you're talking about?
No, the archangels are good guys, but
Okay.
these are the little G-gods are the very first story in Genesis were the little G-gods.
I gotta go and read my Bible, I guess.
They said we created man in our image. That's them. We mated with, the sons of God mated with the the daughters of men. Those were those little G gods mating with the daughters of the humans and creating that race that at first was sterile and then became.
So is it really all in there, the
Yes,
Bible?
it is. It is in there.
It's just all cryptic
It's
in
just
a way.
that we are being taught it
interpretation of, yeah.
the wrong
Right. How to
interpretation
interpret,
on purpose.
yeah. Yeah, right, of course.
Because religion is man-made. Religion has nothing to do with the real God. That is a man-made controlling thing on the planet. A big, factor.
So, okay.
But it's in there. And you know what? Read those 12th planet books. Start with that one. It's called The 12th Planet by Zecharia Sitchin. It is amazing. It proves it. It's not a theory. He proves it.
Proves what?
The whole creator thing of how humans were created on the planet.
Okay.
With the DNA, and that's why, the evolution theory could never had that missing gap.
Right.
It could never bridge that missing link.
Yeah.
And that's why, as I said, apes are still around today, which makes no sense if they evolved.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
And they still don't
That's
talk.
actually kind of the best argument I've heard against it.
Yeah. They still don't talk, they don't have speech.
Right. Not that that's always such a gift. What else?
So we are supposed to get renewed abilities, though, like telepathy is supposed to come back, teletransportation, the ability to just think yourself someplace else.
Yeah, but you've only got X amount of years to do it.
No, that's with the ascension.
Oh, okay.
Not on
If
Earth.
you get the ascension.
Not on Earth.
Okay. If you manage to get,
Well,
so,
they are gonna, give people a boost, but that's what I'm saying. You have to help. You have to prime the pump.
okay, so let's say I'm able, okay, to keep my emotions on a neutral level no matter what is going on out there. And
Well, I can tell you this: the fact that you're even asking this, the fact that you're even part of this interview, it says a lot for you. Because nobody even wants to talk about this. Most people aren't interested. They don't believe it. Just the fact that you're interested and have these thinking questions proves you are totally on your way.
Well, let me just turn that on its head. How do you I don't know. Other than, you're well read, you're obviously intelligent, you're a prolific writer, So yeah, I could read a lot of stories and create Scientology maybe too. So, and the irony is, I've gone almost the same kind of path to get to here somehow, I don't know. But how do you have credibility? Where's your credibility? How do you demonstrate that other than the book that you wrote? Is it demonstrated through that? Do you feel confident that it's demonstrated?
What their point of this, because they told me what this book would be, and when I was writing this, I was thinking that I was just taking notes for a book, and then when I was done, I had to go through trust tests myself and break barriers of comfort and things, and when I was done, they said, okay, now print that just like it is, raw, and there are a little bit of swearing in there, I am human. And
yeah, but
they said this is the title, The Diary of a Walk-In. Well, it's here. I'm human. I'm here as human flesh.
Okay, let's talk about that. It was a gradual process.
Yeah, and what I wanted, no, the walk-in thing was instant. It happened in an instant. There was an exact moment.
Okay, so what day, what time, how did that?
Well, what I did want to say, I just lost it. Go ahead.
What day and time and how?
Oh, okay. So it was October 13th. Columbus Day weekend for me is a big deal because that's my anniversary every year. October 12th is really the date I associate
Columbus
with.
Day, that's kind of an invasion.
And you know what?
Isn't it?
That is actually this past October or maybe 2 years ago was the 500-year anniversary of Columbus coming to America on that weekend. And that weekend actually, it turns out, has much more significance than I even ever knew.
How?
Well, that's one way I'm saying, but I'd have to look up that particular note, but I did make a note of it. So we can continue this interview and I can get more specific. This first interview is just spontaneous. Let's see how this goes, but I will put together a more detailed PowerPoint showing some, authorization on which This is not about convincing
I
anybody.
know, and it's one of those questions that I'm only asking because everybody else is gonna ask.
But it was October 12th, 1993.
Okay,
And what it was is I was on a whitewater rafting trip with,
in the Gully River.
yeah, I used to
Yeah.
sell mortgages. I used to live in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I live in Florida now.
Yeah.
But
I've
yeah, I
sold
was on the
mortgages
Gully
and I've been on
River.
the Gully River many times, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, there was an exact moment, and what shifted for me immediately was I suddenly had fourth dimensional awareness of nature itself came alive in a way you just don't notice it, but all of a sudden it was living, breathing, all that I could see. I mean, nature was the first thing that came alive, and then immediately I knew I was working in the wrong job, I was working for the wrong reasons, I was wearing the wrong clothes, I wore suits and had a briefcase and wore high heels, and I lived in the wrong place. I mean, immediately I knew everything had to change. And so I was growing my hair differently, because being a different person, you're a different person.
Right.
Relationships that I had, I no longer was interested in. New relationships that maybe weren't so good, and suddenly I did reconnect with on a different level. And those are some of the walk-in signs. But it was immediately on that weekend, immediate.
So how did you know it was a walk-in and not
Well,
just an
so I didn't
awakening?
even know that term or anything at
But-
that time.
But now even going back, how do you know it's not just an awakening? I mean,
Because I immediately got a team of guides, which we all have guides, but they made themselves known to me.
Right.
There was a team of 5 guides and 1 leader, which was Jesus / Sananda. And immediately they started, and I didn't even know anything about guidance at that time, because I came in, you come in and you're just like, you don't know what's going on initially, and it becomes like, let me show you what's going on. Read this book. And I started reading 10 books a month on metaphysical topics I had never had any interest in, that I was being led to. And the thing about reading those books was they were just confirming what I now knew already. And that's what goes in this book. A lot of times I'll have thoughts, and then 2 days later I read that in a book. So they just kept showing me, look, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Everything you're thinking, everything you know now, we'll prove it to you by showing you other people who have written about this. So that was what they did, and I didn't know anything about the Pleiadians, but here's the story that I began telling after I did know. They're from the future who have come back into the past. This is the past. And it's to fix the past, because before they initially were bad guys. They were associated with those creator little g gods. And they didn't know the consequences of changing what Earth was, and they did destroy Earth in their past. Earth was destroyed.
mm,
And what they didn't realize was that in destroying Earth, they destroyed their own planet as well, and they made themselves a sterile race, and they just didn't know that the consequences would carry over for them, and they became about to become extinct themselves, like humans now are making themselves about to become extinct.
mhm.
So they came back from the future into the past, and this was one of the ways they did it, by incarnating as walk-ins and other ways. To fix the past, to try to sound out the alarm calls. We know where this is heading. We've been here before. If you don't change this, it's not going to happen. But now the experiment, in one regard, is a success. Though they're celebrating. They've achieved what they wanted to achieve. For them, it is a huge success. They've accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. There are.
For the Pleiadians, the people.
Yeah.
of the Pleiades. I'm
For
calling
Earth
people.
too. For Earth too.
Okay,
Earth is not going to be destroyed,
right.
but the humans that are damaging the Earth, that are gonna, there is some real dark energy level humans working with these other non-physical energies.
That's what I keep. Yeah, I mean,
And for them, they're just going to have a different path.
right.
It's not
Yeah.
that you have to be a completely enlightened being to make this ascension. You do not. You just have to be open to it. And I guess that was kind of Jesus's message when he was here. If you're not, open and believing, I don't know how to put it, but I don't know how they're, all I know is the one part of it is physics though. When they go over with their UFOs, that's just pure physics.
The photon belt thing, I wasn't aware of. I haven't heard of that before. That's new to me. But the nature of photons, my understanding is they're unique in the fact that they're both particle and wave energy.
Yeah, photon is a particle of light.
Right, it's a particle of light, but it's also a wave energy.
A high vibrating level energy.
It's two different type of energies that are measured that science is still trying, supposedly.
Yeah, they're higher frequency, higher vibration in light.
So, and so it makes sense to me that, if you have your frequency at a different level, frequencies tend to attract each other and then come together through physics. That's
right,
just,
yeah, physics.
That's the way things work, So in understanding just that part of it.
And physics has proved that, there's no such thing as solid matter. This
Right.
is one of the things I always said too, that a solid table appears solid. So there's a thing about belief. It's solid. I don't believe that you're saying it's not solid, but physics has proven
Right.
this. At the
Right.
subatomic level,
Yeah.
there is nothing there but energy. There's no
Right.
such thing as...
Yeah, most of the space in cells is a negative space. They would call it negative. There's nothing supposedly they can define.
Yeah, so
But
we
it is
can't
something.
understand.
It's energy.
Yeah,
It's
everything
something holding
is
together.
energy.
Everything's energy, so it's that. We'll give
Exactly.
it that label. We don't even understand what that means either.
Yeah.
But it is what that is.
Right.
So that at least we can identify it as something. So I guess my way of getting my head around it is what I'm trying to do is to, I guess raise your vibration, which is constantly the rhetoric. I mean, it says raise your
Well,
vibration.
plus they're washing the planet with these bands of light, and every time they do, more and more people that are ready are being activated, and those people being activated and raised is raising the people below them. There is a chain reaction.
Yeah.
So, and I'm telling you, just by you even having this conversation says a lot about where you're at, and a lot happens when we're sleeping. I mean, you can wake up exhausted from an 8-hour night sleep, which I often do because so much is going on when you're sleeping.
Tell me about dreams.
What they mean?
Not what they mean. What's their function?
Well, a lot of times, those dreams are real. You're just remembering them as not real, but a lot of times that's the real life, and this is the dream.
Right.
So, a lot of times messages are encrypted, though, in a way that you can understand. And here's one of the clues I mention in this book all the time is songs. When you get a lyric in your head that comes out of nowhere, that is a big way of how they communicate to you. And a lot of times it's not the exact lyric that you first entered your mind. Follow that song a little ways down and you'll find the sentence that really is what they're trying to say. And they do that all the time. And you might wake up from a dream with a song in your head. And that's what you need to write down as well as the dream. Write down those lyrics, and that explains the dream sometimes. But pay attention to song lyrics that aren't just from what you were just listening to, but that just pop in your head.
Why do they use lyrics?
Because because they don't communicate with words. It's not words that it's telepathic superimposed thoughts, and so the way they get words communicated is by song lyrics. That's the way they get direct words communicated. And because it's superimposed thoughts, though, you'll think it's your idea, but really, there's a universal law that they can't interfere if they're not physically here on the planet, which is why they have to incarnate and be physically here on the planet. But there's a universal law that, they can't direct you or force you to do anything they can try to give you ideas and
now,
guidance.
when we're talking about they, who are we talking about?
Well, there's the teens. I'll just call them the non-physical realm.
Give more detail, please.
Well, we all have our guides. We
Okay.
all have them. Whether you are aware of them, believe it or not, they're there. And you find this out when you die. So, everything I'm saying can be proved when you die. You'll find out.
Yeah, that's all the time to tell me. Anyway, go ahead.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But, for me, like I said, I know who my usually you'll have a main one and then you'll have a helper team. And we get caught up on labels like Pleiadian, whatever, but it doesn't matter. I mean, because
I guess what I'm trying to differentiate is because it seems to me that like the yin and yang is a real, like the dark and the white. It's just both energy moving, and my understanding of it, the way I've been taught, I guess, is that you need those two forces to make things happen. And sometimes it's heavier on one, sometimes lighter on the other. So the ones that tend to run to the darkness, it's not that they're evil, it's just energy. And the ones that run to light, it's not that they're evil. It's
and they said that the dark was necessary for this experiment. We had to choose the light over the dark. It was necessary, or this experiment wouldn't have been able to happen.
So that duality that we live in is that's...
Yeah, there should be no judgment about it. And even the little G gods in the beginning, they have now gone to the light. Like I just said, the Pleiadians were part of that. So they started out, and
so were the G gods Pleiadians?
Well, they were related. There was more than just them. They don't call themselves that, though, at that level. I'm not going to say the word everyone wants me to say.
That's fine.
I just don't want to go. I don't want to be compared to other information that's out there. That's why they don't want me to use that other word.
Okay.
But they were part of that original beginning, but not the only ones. But they've now shifted into the light, and now they are completely for helping the planet, because they know we're all connected, and the consequences are going to affect. It's not isolated just here, and they have learned their lesson. So they're coming back to fix it.
So when they taught you through books you read here?
No, I got the information direct.
Okay.
But then they showed it to me. They verified it and confirmed it in books, and just showed that.
And the books that you read, were they books that were channeled from people? I mean, how do those people come
Some
up
of
with
them,
information?
yeah, like Barbara Marciniak is definitely a channeler of Pleiadian information, and her books are awesome. And her books were saying things like, this is who you are, this is why you are here, and they have to do that. They have to put their words in print to be direct like that, but it doesn't resonate with everyone. And there's times when you're reading words where no matter what it's in, a sign, a billboard, a bumper sticker, a license plate, they can communicate that way too, in a flash. Like suddenly, they'll speak to you like that. But then the next time you look at it, it's just an ordinary license plate. But they definitely communicate with. So pay attention. That's what they're constantly trying to say. Pay attention. Be aware. Become aware. Know that there's this whole other level out there, and it's not just about this 3D Earth. And that's one of their biggest messages, especially now. They want people to start to expand their awareness so that, when things, everybody knows, they say like 2/3 of the people, or even higher than that now, say they believe in UFOs, like 60 to 80%. So when the governments disclose all their stuff, that'll be out on the table as well. And then at that time, instead of having fear and the unknown, fear of the unknown, why are they here? What are they doing? What do they want? This is to help explain why they are here, what they're doing, what do they want. They want to meet us in person, have us meet them in person, heal the planet, heal us. That will elevate us just from that contact with them.
Okay, the planet's not going to die. It's going to survive. And there's people that are going to stay on it. Are they going to stay indefinitely?
There are people who are going to go through all those tumultuous devastation and destruction with the planet.
Right, and stay here.
Die.
They'll just die eventually, that'll be it?
And there will be survivors, though.
That's
There will be
that's my question. It's got to be somebody.
No, there will be survivors who want to regenerate the earth again, in a new way. And people who have left the earth and gone to the new earth will be able to shuttle back and forth and teach those left behind what the technology and the new ways of doing things on the new earth are. They will be helped. They won't be left alone. They will be helped. And at that point, we'll have new abilities. We'll have.
What about the slavery thing? Is that over now? So we're not mining gold for them?
Yeah, no, that's over.
So they made a movie of that.
They did?
Yeah.
What? That ended in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't that Black Diamond movie.
No, there was some kind of portal thing that they went through, and it was
I even think games like Minecraft, those video games that the younger generations are now doing, is to lead them into, they're being trained with that game right now.
Yeah.
That game is all over. If you don't have children, you don't know anything about it. But
no, I've got a
Minecraft,
son. He's all over Minecraft.
right?
He was, but
because they travel to other planets, they go through portals, they go through wormholes, they create, they mine, they build. I mean, they're being trained. They're all being trained.
So some people will die, some people will survive. And
Well, even the Book of
health.
Revelation says a third of the population is going to be wiped out.
A third of it?
A third.
So how many people are on the earth now?
There is 9 billion, I believe. Which, if you follow the projections, which I show in my sustainability, is the Earth dying, is the title of the YouTube. We should have been at 12 billion, according to the way we kept doubling and doubling and doubling, and the length of time was getting shorter and shorter between the population doubling. We should have been at 12 billion, which would have been it, and the population was slowed down, and that was because of the genetically modified food and cancer. Cancer was created, and the cure for cancer, chemotherapy, radiation, that just kills you faster.
Right, yeah.
So, they have reduced the population. They have slowed the growth down.
It seems, and the Alzheimer's, the way it's spread all over, and it's just amazing. Anybody who's old just automatically gets Alzheimer's now. And the
they're saying
the
that.
Sterilization thing too.
Yeah,
There was talking to somebody
sterilization.
about even teenage boys. They're just like practically sterile already. It's just, really scary stuff.
Yeah, they say with genetically modified food, it takes 3 generations to make a sterile generation. 3 generations of eating that, and we're already into the 2nd generation, which is why children today are not going to outlive their parents, because the beginning of that is the shorter lifespans also. The lifespans get shorter and shorter. But they're only predicting another 15 years.
Anyway, so it doesn't matter how short your lifespan
This
is.
is
15 years, you're done.
I'm saying 2 to 3 years, they will be here. They will be making themselves known. That's my prediction. Because I always do things in 2-year cycles, and I think I've just entered the last 2-year cycle. So that's just a clue.
What do you mean you do things in 2-year cycle?
For me personally, everything is always 2-year cycles. That's just, I'm not saying anyone else works that way, and I am not psychic, by the way. I'm just saying that I believe I've entered the 2-year cycle that is the last 2-year cycle for me. That I will be leaving.
This year?
No, in 2 years.
Oh, in 2 years.
It's either 2 or 4, but it's always a 2-year cycle for me.
So you've entered the new 2-year cycle then?
Yeah, they're going to come.
Okay.
They are ready. They're just saying that
15 by 17.
we're not ready to receive them. They're ready to come. It needs to happen, and part of the happening is being introduced, knowing they're benevolent, knowing they're here to help, knowing we are actually the aliens on Earth, the humans.
Mhm.
We're not from Earth.
Yeah.
We were created to be on Earth.
Right.
We're not from Earth. So
Everybody's-
the way we act on Earth, driving cars, paving roads, building buildings, those are not earthling activities. Those are alien activities. So right there it just shows you, if you were from Earth, you would be caring for the Earth like the Native Americans and the Aborigines. You would be in tune with the Earth. The way we act on the planet is foreign to the Earth and alien. That's alien technology that we are doing.
Yeah, but it's antiquated technology. I mean, why aren't we doing better stuff if we're aliens?
Well, I'm just saying our gene, our DNA is alien DNA. So if you're gonna fear aliens, you yourself are alien DNA.
Yeah, right, okay. I follow you, I guess. It's just that anybody coming with better technology than ours is
Oh,
gonna
well,
be
we're nowhere
ways-
near evolved.
That's what I'm,
We're at the very
I-
primitive level.
I guess what I'm saying, I can see people seeing them as a threat, no matter how they may accept themselves as being an
Oh, of
alien.
course.
This person with more technology and coming from God knows where,
Well, that's
doing
how
God
it's
knows
always
what.
been.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
so
And the other
to
thing
swallow that pill
is,
is-
I have seen this recently, where they did computer imagery to advance like a human over thousands of years, what we would look like thousands of years later. And because we would be getting telepathy back, we would not need to use our mouths as much. We wouldn't need to eat the same kind of foods. We would eat higher vibrating foods, more energy foods. So we wouldn't need our mouth as much. So our mouths would get smaller. We would be using more communication with our eyes through telepathy, and just the eyes communicate. So our eyes would get larger. Because we wouldn't use our jaws and chewing, you know, that structure would get more narrow. And because our brains would be evolving and we'd be using more of our brain power, like the dolphins use 100% of their brains, and the whales, our skulls would get larger. So that's what they look like. They are us in the future. They are humans in the future. And because we're not living on solid foods, our bodies would get narrower, you know. That whatever we're not needing anymore would go away, and whatever we are using more of would increase. So, you know, yes, you know, they're going to look different, but you will feel them. That's what they say. They will be able to emanate their emotions, and you will feel the love, and you will feel the calmness, and they will communicate telepathically to you. So they won't be here talking.
That's not far-fetched to me at all. I mean,
No.
I can already feel, I can't do the telepathic thing, but
No,
the feeling's
but
already there.
you
so,
will be
yeah,
with them.
right. Yeah, sure.
But we will get that ability ourselves as humans. We are about to evolve as humans. This dark cloak, a blanket and veil, and the DNA strands, they're saying, that have been limited to 2 are becoming back to 12, and we're supposed to be crystalline based in our pineal gland, which is crystal based. They've shown this in scientific x-rays. You know, we're going to be becoming more crystal based instead of carbon based. And that's going to elevate, because those are like little antennae in the pineal gland, and that's how you will get these abilities. That's your antenna, your pineal gland.
Yeah, so no amount of fluoride's gonna stop that or anything?
When they have momentum, there's nothing that can block what they want done. There's nothing that can block that. But people are not all going to evolve at the same rate. But there's going to be a definite wave and a boost, and, you know, and just by being in contact with them. That's the best thing I can tell you, is seeing them in person is going to blow the tops off everybody's heads. It's not going to be a belief thing anymore.
Right.
You're going to see them. Just that contact alone is going to activate so many people.
It's kind of like when NASA took the pictures of Earth and everybody said, "Oh wow, Earth, yeah, we have a new appreciation for it." Only this will be walking down the streets.
But even seeing them, there's going to be people who are going to react with hatred and the worst violence and anger, and you know, so those people, you know, their amount of light and vibration, you know, is not going to penetrate through the density that they are, you know. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be willing to meet them halfway.
So when you say there's an ascension, I have this visual image of a spacecraft coming over Vera Beach, and I'm like walking down the beach in sand, barefoot hopefully, and it's warm. And yeah, and then they just beam me up like Scotty would on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Or they're walking down the street and say, you know, Dave, let's, you know.
No,
go to the
I
stone
don't think
booth
they're
and
going to
take off
actually like
Superman.
land on the beach. I think we're just gonna be
Everybody's gonna
beamed
just
up.
disappear.
There's no need.
So the vibration of it changes, because in the vibration, like Celestine Prophecy talked about this,
Yeah.
or addressed
Yeah,
this,
that's
but the
interesting.
vibration changing in a sense that you become invisible, And so, I guess that's maybe like the third or the fourth dimension.
Yeah,
type
like
stuff.
those dimensions are right now existing at the same time in the same place, in the same space.
Right, so it's nothing to cross over that
Yeah,
veil.
we'll just be able to see, like the planets that look like there's no life on them, they're teeming with life. We just can't see it in our third dimensional vibration level.
Okay.
But once our vibrations raise higher, we'll be able to see the things that are at that level. And anything lower in vibration cannot see what's higher, but what's higher can see what's lower.
Right.
So yeah, just that fact alone is going to open our eyes to what's really here.
So, I guess that's what I'm saying. So I'm gonna be walking along on the beach, and I may still be walking along the beach, but she won't see me, or something like that. Or then, do I actually get
that's-
beamed up?
That's
I'm
what
just molecule.
in the Bible, even in the Rapture, and those movies Left Behind.
Right, Left Behind, that's
What's
right.
being described there.
Right.
See, but we're interpreting it as, I don't know what people are interpreting it as, but that's the physics of it. Is that, yes, their vibration level immediately increased to that point where they look invisible to the person who's still here.
Right,
And they're seeing a whole new world.
right, they're in a different world.
So you can lower your vibration. When you are higher, you can lower it, but it
I have
costs
no problem
you.
lowering it.
You get sick when
Yeah.
you get lower,
Mhm.
and you get exhausted. It costs you to come down.
Yeah,
When you get raised up, though, on the opposite end of that, when you're in a high vibrating love energy or just intellectual talking, thinking of these higher level concepts, that can get draining too. If you're normally at a lower level, you can't hold that level for long until you're really in it. That can exhaust you too. Going up can exhaust you, going down can exhaust you.
yeah, it makes sense.
And I will just say juicing, live organic vegetable juicing
Really?
is one of the best, if not the best thing you can do for yourself weekly.
Okay.
Yeah, there's, in my recipe book, Closer to the Sun, that the juice in there though is designed, it goes right into your bloodstream. It's got living enzymes which raise your vibration. It's a combination of carrots, organic carrots, beets, celery. Dandelion is the most nutritious green you could use, not kale. Kale would be second choice. Dandelion greens. And ginger, Granny Smith apples are more nutritious than Red Delicious. Those are the least nutritious. The sour is more than the sweet. And a lemon. And that combination will flush your liver, will dump toxins out of your liver, but it's just energizing life force going through your bloodstream and cleaning you out.
So Burger King's off limits from now on?
Yeah, once you give up those fast food places, they just, there's a Pavlov effect where you're triggered with salivation when you see a donut or French fries or soda or coffee or whatever. Those are all Pavlov effects, but once you give them up after a certain time, you won't even notice them anymore.
Yeah.
They won't trigger that, and the billboards just won't be noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
But absolutely give that up.
It's so expensive though, that's on purpose,
Well, it's not that organic foods, the question is not why is organic food so expensive, the question is why is the other food so cheap?
Yeah, exactly, that's what I mean, it's on purpose.
And the reason
by
why is
design.
because it's subsidized.
Right, yeah.
But it's also cheaply made. Now we're
Yeah.
sending all our chickens to be processed over to China, traveling 7,000 miles each way just to be defeathered and,
Because it's cheaper.
and
for them to
it's
do it.
because it's cheaper, but the
Yeah.
quality is
Right.
the lowest.
And the
the
Chinese
bottom
are
of
trying
the
to kill us
barrel.
in so many ways anyway, it's,
And they say almost 100% of chicken, if it's not organic now, has cancer in it, that they cut out the tumors and the,
Is that right?
Yes. And even the fish now, they're saying, fishermen here in Florida they're telling me that most of the tuna they're finding has all kinds of cancer all over it.
Yeah, it's scary. I was in California, and I ate at this restaurant. It was right on the water. It was beautiful, and I was having a meal with a chef, and I'm looking on the menu. And he goes, "Yeah, we had to put that on the menu," and it was disclosure that the fish that you're going to have is possibly contaminated with at least mercury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And God knows what else.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm
pasta,
saying.
you know?
Everything is like contaminated.
Everything. I mean, it's
because
really.
they're
it's,
trying to reduce the population.
Right. Yeah, it just seems evident. I mean,
And it's
it just
like,
seems,
yeah, if you're going to be stubborn and say, I'm not going to change what I'm eating, then
Right.
fine. They've made the decision for you.
Yeah.
And right now, what's interesting in Georgia, there's like a Stonehenge there. Have you heard of it?
Somebody, yeah.
The Georgia
Guidestones.
Guidestones, they're called. You can Google that, Georgia Guidestones.
Okay.
It's also at the end of my Sustainability is the Earth Dying YouTube talk, if you
Okay.
make it to the end. But they have on there the creeds of what, in 7 different languages, or 8 different languages, on these giant stones that no one knows who
Right.
put them there.
And it's Georgia.
And it
so-
says the Earth population will be reduced to 500 million people. And it says something like get along with nature or be in something with nature. I forget the relationship, but it's like put nature first or something, and it's repeated twice about. And it's on. You know.
Okay. I'll
And
check
just
it out.
last year, somebody changed one of the little corners into writing the date 2014, and this was built in 1980, and it had never been changed, so that's, 35 years ago, and just last year, somebody took out this little chunk and put 2014, and it's almost like saying, we're there now.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's happening as we speak. So what was it before that? Before they
It
changed?
didn't have a date at all.
Oh, it didn't have a
It
date.
was there. You could see the outline of a cutout where they could take it out,
Mm.
but it was there. It was
Mhm.
still there.
Mm.
But yeah, those are in Georgia, the Guidestones, and that's exactly what I'm saying. So I think it was them who put them there.
Mhm. I don't know, what else? So, you said this had happened instantaneously, but yet in the book you talk about it, you were human and throughout this process. So is there a page on the book where that took place, where that switch happened?
Well, see, yeah, this book. The thing about this book is that it doesn't start you out. I start out with the beginning, the end and the beginning though, where I did put the walk-in. What is a walk-in up
Right.
front, and
Yeah, I read that.
Directions for a walk-in, because otherwise you wouldn't know where this was going. Just like I didn't know where it was going or what it meant, because I had to go through a waking up process of what was happening and why it happened. I mean, I knew things, but I didn't know what had happened or why it had happened.
So the switch happens, and now you're in this new person, right? And through that point, there's still a discovery process.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
But it's like you know things, and you're like, and
you're
I
not
thought it
sure
was
how.
happening to everyone in the
Okay.
beginning. I thought
Right.
it was happening to
Everybody's
everyone.
woke up.
And I started talking to people, and nobody knew what I was talking about, and they started looking at me strangely. So that's when I realized I needed to just stop talking. Nobody knew what I was talking about. This wasn't happening to everyone.
But you said this came about through a practice in a way that you were doing as a human, which was.
Yeah, when I first started earlier that year, which was probably timing though, on purpose. Like I had
Yeah.
reached the point on the timeline where this
Mhm.
was supposed to happen, but what I started doing as a Catholic at that time, having gone to confession, and my penance that I was given was to go to church for 40 days in a row. So that year I did go to church for 40 days in a row, and I started saying, use me for what you want me to do, use me for what you want me to do, over and over and over and over and over and over for 40 days in a row. Earnestly saying, I'm done, I've seen everything I want to see, I've done everything I want to do, whatever you want me to do, you tell me, I'm all yours. And then that is when later that year in October was when I was answered on that whitewater rafting trip. I was immediately downloaded, and
Okay, I've been on the Gully River when they open up the thing.
Yeah.
Is that when
Yes,
you went?
yeah,
You open
yeah.
that season, they open
Yeah.
it up and it becomes like a Cat 6 almost.
Five,
or,
yeah, category
whatever,
5, yeah.
But, whatever. So,
and water, by the way, is a conduit. So it was some of it was because it was on water.
okay.
Water is a conduit.
So you're literally going down that thing with a helmet on and you're paddling.
Yes,
And it
yes.
happens in the middle of that.
Yes, and I had a trigger, which I talk about in the book, was the guide. the guide.
The guy who was running the boat.
Yeah, he was the guide, but in 2 different ways.
Yeah.
But he
I
triggered
remember
me.
reading some of that,
He
yeah.
triggered me. So
How?
I had a trigger.
How did he trigger you?
There was just a moment I remember looking at him and making eye contact, and it wasn't that he knew what was going on,
Right,
but
it was
it
through him
triggered
somehow?
me. It triggered me.
So it was almost like a shaman will touch you when you assemblage point, and then you'll just
Yeah, it was like I was hit on the head with a
Castaneda
magic
talks
wand.
about, yeah,
It was like that.
okay.
It was a moment. I was
So,
activated.
and you saw it through his eyes, in the sense that, I mean, his looking at him somehow that just woke it up.
Well, no, it wasn't that I saw through his eyes at all. It was just, I wanted to be like what I thought he was. And it doesn't mean he was like that, but what I suddenly, I was like, his whole life was nature and living on the river and being in beauty. And that's all the realtors had talked about. That whole trip down from Connecticut to West Virginia was, wouldn't you like to do this for a living? Wouldn't you like...
Went with realtors?
Yeah, that's all they talked about.
So it was a trip of realtors and like mortgage
I was
brokers
selling
and stuff?
mortgages.
Yeah, you're selling
and
mortgages
we were
to
on like a
realtors.
business trip.
Right, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, there were all these realtors, and they had done this trip all the time, every year. And
Yeah.
every year, it was a 4-day
said the same
weekend.
thing
They would
every
look
year.
forward to this trip and talk about it the whole year long
Right.
for that 4 days. And so that was part of my thing too. I was like, why would you, if this is so
If this is
important
what
to
you want
you,
to do, why don't you just do it?
yeah, like
Yeah.
why spend all those other 361
Selling
days
people houses and-
not living where you want to live and not doing what you want to do? So that's how it started out also, because I was like, you're right, this is what I want to do. But I wasn't aware of nature. I had a new awareness of nature.
Yeah,
That's all I can
yeah.
say. I mean, I'd
And
been
so-
camping before, and
Okay, so now you see some kind of whatever it was, and you realize this is what-
the most important thing.
So so nature woke up to you. How did that happen? Tell me about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like on that river, it was the most gorgeous, beautiful scenery, and that's all I can say. It's like now I look at the war on the news and I see these tanks going down roads and there's trees, on the sides, and it's all dusty and dirty, and they're all in their military and they're just like looking to who they can kill, and they're not even noticing or aware of those trees. This is what I thought.